All right, hey guys, Jason here. We're going to be talking about this guy today because I'm in love with this. Okay, this heater is amazing. If you camp at campgrounds, okay, if you're at a campground, this thing is perfect. This is straight up flawless. Or if you're using a generator in camp, this thing draws 1,500 watts. And there's something you got to know about that. You can go to Walmart or Amazon or anything and you can buy heaters that are really big and oscillating and are tall and they spin and they do stuff. And you're like, God, that's got to heat a lot of area. The most power that you can get out of electric heater in the United States, basically, as far as I'm concerned, out of a 120 volt is 1,500 watts. They will not go any higher. This is 1,500 watts. This puts out as much, actually more, because it's more consolidated in where the fan comes from. This puts out more heat than those taller oscillating units that you pay $100 or $150 for. This thing beats them. It blows the doors off of them. Okay, this thing is amazing and it does everything. And in a campground where I'm in a tent, my tent is a 10 by 10 Kodiak, and you're going to see, we're going to go to footage in this in a minute, real world. We're not just going to stand here and talk about it. I'm going to show you the footage and do most of this from the tent. Insane, the power of this little heater to do. Now, also what's nice is not only is it incredible for warmth for you, it'll also dry your clothes. It is a dry heat, unlike propane. We look at the size of this little heater and look at my other tent heater setup, okay? This is my, when I don't have power, tent heater setup. So we'll dive into this here later, but what we want to talk about right now is we want to talk about this. Okay, so what you get with this thing is you're going to get 3 settings on it. Okay, now it also has a remote. The remote is right here, which is great. You take this right in your sleeping bag with you. You can control the whole thing right from there. Buttons are real easy to identify. It has a handle on the back. See this handle? Well, interestingly enough, this remote sticks and locks and just shoves right into this handle, and it fits in there perfect, and it doesn't come out. So the whole set's right there, perfect, just like you want. Now, on this thing, it has a digital display. When we turn it on, there it is. You can see the display on here. And what are we on right now? We are on H3, highest power. It also, so it has 3 modes. We go up or down. Okay, there's 2, and there's 1, there's 3, there's 2, there's 1. So you got 3 power outputs. All of them move the air more with a fan too. This has got a fan in here that is pushing this air forward, and that's the key. You can put this on the floor of your tent and have it aiming right at your tent. It pushes all this heat right to where your cot and sleeping area is, or wherever you're working. If I'm working, not sleeping in my cot, and I'm working at the table on videos, I can simply turn this way and have it shoot at me. When I go to bed, turn it that way. It also has a oscillating feature. So if you have 2 people sleeping in your tent, one in a cot here, one in a cot here, look at this. It's just going to keep heating both of you guys all night. It's going to keep blowing heat. Look at this. It's the perfect amount of oscillation, too. It's just going to work. We can bring it up. You know, you can hear it getting louder, working harder, throwing more heat. But this thing is amazing. And this is going to blow the doors off of any other heater out there from the reviews I have. If you watch Project Farm, things like that, that's why I bought this heater. He tested all of these heaters together to see which one works good. You can also put this right on the floor. I set this right on my tent floor, okay? It's warm. There's a lot of hot air coming out of that. You can feel it, but it's not going to melt your floor or do anything, so I can leave this right on the floor. The lower your heat source, the more your heat, because heat rises, is going to heat you. This thing is worth its weight in gold on every level. It also has timers if you wanted to, and you could set it up so it's going to do that stuff. Not that we care about the timers, and it's got is it doing its shutdown cycle? Yep, but it's also got a tip-over mode in it. So it'll turn off instantly. Even if it falls on its face, it won't hurt nothing. And we have in the back a replaceable filter right here, or cleanable filter on the back of this. But for, like I said, the $35 or whatever this thing is, worth its weight in gold if you have power. Generator or camp power. In campgrounds, when I'm on my wall tent trips, or I'm not taking my wall tent. Now I wouldn't use this in a 14 by 16 wall tent with, with 12-foot tall ceilings. Not going to really do a whole lot there. Now it will right next to your cot. It'll heat your whole sleeping area up perfectly. But in most of your tents, like my Kodiak canvas 10 by 10, a 10 by 14 Kodiak canvas tent, a nylon tent, gold. Safe, no fumes, no BS to mess with, no fuel to mess with, no nothing. You can leave it run all night long. A dry heat that's going to heat any of your clothes hanging up. It's incredible. So we're going to roll now into the actual usage of this thing in my tent when I was on my trip to Alabama, where temperatures were down to the teens at night. So we're going to use it and show you that right now. Okay, guys, here's the real test. Okay, and it's proving pretty incredible. I came in here, and when I got back from hunting here, I went over next door, was at the fire with Jeff and Jimmy and those guys, and hanging out over there for a little bit. But I went and took a shower, and before I went and took a shower, we're at a campground, but before I went and took a shower, I turned this heater on 1. Okay, it's got 3 settings. Last night I had it on 1, and I was on top of my sleeping bag, and it was in the 30s. Well, right now it's like 21 degrees, getting down to 18 tonight, and we still have this on 1. But because of the proximity, if I put it here, this thing's blowing air. It's blowing air. But even on 1, it heats this whole thing so good and gets it hot. And I wanted to see, well, I went and took a shower, which you can see. I'm in undies here. I'm, t-shirt and underwear. But this thing has been only on 1. I have not cranked it up anymore, and it is comfortable in here. I don't have a temperature gauge, but I would say we're probably 50, 55 degrees in here right now, and that's only on 1. 55, maybe even 60. It is very comfortable in here. Point being, that Mr. Buddy heater that you guys can't see real well that I have right over here in the corner, that's my Mr. Buddy heater that I run and set up. I got a headlamp right here I can turn on and show you. And but this, my Mr. Buddy heater, is just been demoted to only being used in the sites that I don't have camp power. This little heater right here is my new whole world. I love this thing. And like I said, if we look at this, I can go, okay, it turns on, then it goes 2, then I can go 1 more, 3, and that thing's just cooking heat, 1500 watts. That thing's just awesome. And so I'm real impressed with that. We'll leave it on 2 for right now. But very impressive little heater. And blowing this air out of this heater. And it's coming out here and it's hitting me. And it is going up. What's here? All my dirty clothes on a gear loft up here. It's up here, not dirty clothes, but if I had wet clothes. I got so much room on this setup that I could put all these up here, and not only does my body heat help dry them, but so does all of the heat coming from this heater. This little heater right here is a game changer little dude. I am so excited about this little $39 heater and plugged in, but I'm going to get myself a good quality power strip and a 40-foot or something, or 30-foot good thicker quality extension cord there for this kind of setup. And like I said, we got plans, and when I take this out in a couple of weeks, when I take this tent back out in a few weeks and we use it for hog hunting, I'm going to set up the laundry line, set up the whole setup, set up that. I'll have everything ready. We will have this setup dialed in before I do my trip next year, my Midwest trip, but this is what we're taking. I am loving this setup, and the fact that I get heat all night long, where I just never did that in my wall tent because, like I said, it's those 360 heaters are just too much. Could have ran a Mr. Buddy in there and did that too if we wanted to, but we just always just crawled into sleeping bags, wore a hat, that kind of thing. This little dude right here is kind of changing everything. And you can't really dry clothes real good with propane because it's a wet heat. Wet heat doesn't dry things very well. This is not a wet heat, and this thing's drying everything perfectly. So like I said, that jacket was soaking wet from the rain, and now it's completely dry, and it's all cotton insulated. This thing's just on fire. So anyway, very excited about it. We will keep you posted with more as we finish getting this tent set up. But I have my list. When I get home, I will buy those things so that next time I bring this out, I can set it all up. So, all right, there you go.